Everybody say you mean, Lesbo and The Bean. Who's that out there living they dream? Lesbo and The Bean. Who's that still smoking all the green? Lesbo and The Bean. Come on, y'all, let me hear you scream. Lesbo and The Bean.
Here we go. Breakdown.
Breaking it down.
We have had a few weeks in a row of fights, and that's not going to stop anytime soon. We got another 7 more in a row coming up, so you better figure out a way to watch most of these bouts, and there's going to be a lot of good fights. This card coming up, people are giving it flack, but I think that's uncalled for. We have UFC Fox 27 come out of Charlottesville. What are you hearing roughly about this fight? The main event's going to end up being Silva versus Brunson, but we'll get there. Again,
Is it Charlottesville?
It is Charlottesville.
Oh, I thought it was Charlotte.
Oh, wait. Sorry. It is Charlotte. What else is in Charlotte? What else is in Charlotte?
It should have a bill.
Right.
Charlotte, South Carolina. Or is it North Carolina?
I thought it was North Carolina.
Charlotte, North Carolina. I feel like I need to ask Siri this.
So, what is the fun things that come
Where
in?
is Charlotte?
He's Charlotte.
It's like Charlotte Webb and shit. No, I didn't do that.
So, this is going to end up being a 12 bout
North Carolina.
fight night. North Carolina. And the biggest thing known about North Carolina is that people go in and they don't come out.
North Carolina?
I that might have been a little fabricated. I'm just saying that it felt right. That felt right.
It just felt right.
It rolled off the tongue. One goes in, nobody comes out. North Carolina.
Get to Charlotte. Stay to Charlotte.
So, with this 12 card,
Is this where the old contenders for the football, the Panthers? Is this where the Panthers play out of? Who cares? Why am I even asking
yeah, no idea on
Sorry.
that one. If it's not combat sports, I'm probably not following it. Even with these Super Bowl stuff, it's just, sorry guys. Sorry, MMA is a little thick right now, and I only got so much time. So, with so much time, we're starting from the bottom up with a double debut. Double debut starting off this fight card. Is going to be a stay away before we even get into it. We have Austin Arnett debuting against Cory Sandhagen. This is a 145-pound bout. I'm going to end up going with Sandhagen 7-1 against 15-3's Arnett. I don't know why. I don't care why. There's other fights to bet on.
This is why I'm guessing. When you're from Colorado, you got a good gas tank. Only reason I can imagine.
Well, Team Elevation is a good reason. Also, there is multiple fighters coming out of there as well. So he's going to be training with legitimate
Is that
people.
Dillashaw right now?
That is Dillashaw, exactly. And all those monsters, especially at that 145, that's right where he needs to be. He's probably training with that young man as well. So stay away all day.
I'm not. I'm going to put a knockout round 1. Sandhagen. I think just training with Dillashaw alone in the 145 right now against a guy out of the Pac Northwest just can't be enough experience. You can't have the same amount of experience as the guy at Elevation.
So on to the next fight. We have a few more.
But I probably won't put it anywhere because what do I know about a double debut?
LaTB play that we like to stay away from that first fight, and that's the reason why. Price versus George Sullivan, who's ended up coming in off of a 2-fight suspension, or 2-year almost suspension for popping on steroids that he definitely was all upon. Niko Price coming off of a loss, being 10-1. His first loss is in the UFC against Vicente Luque in a Darce choke 2 months ago. Luque, you know how we feel about Luque. He's a top prospect in this sport. So losing to him is not the worst thing. And people that are writing off Price and saying that he lost to him, that's very uneducated. Niko Price definitely has a good future in the UFC, all around being a great fighter or a good fighter, learning, evolving, good gas tank, good power, swarms people, uses his takedowns really well, has good top control, but also sweeps really well off the ground. And George, already being an older fighter, having 17-5 record, he's 36 years old off of 2-year suspension. This is post-USADA. This was a key thing that I was saying with the other fight last weekend with T-Bow. The exact same thing's happening right here with Sylvain. So I feel like the UFC is giving Price a fight that he can win. I've made a lot of money on Price. I do feel like he's going to be a favorite this night, but regardless, I'm going to probably put him on a bunch of my DK. I'm not putting Sylvain on anything. This is going to be a T-Bow type of first round finish for me. I got TKO round 1 for Price, maybe submission round 1, but this ain't going too long. What do you think goes on in this one?
One of our best Leslie Smith underdog picks of 2017 was Niko Price against Alan Jouban.
Yep.
We made great money, and anyone who listened to us, it also helped make your DraftKings and parlays amazing. Unfortunately, this is not going to happen tonight, not because Niko Price isn't going to win, just because he's going to be a heavy favorite, if not probably the most expensive guy on DraftKings. I don't know the price of
lines
those
right now, yeah.
I do know they're out, so I will pull them up in between next fighter and get back to you on that, but I just imagine him to be really heavy favorited. So I don't think I'm telling anyone anything. The thing you didn't touch on with Niko, he has a crisp stand-up game, heavy punches laid for a guy, more power than you'd think. He really puts his whole body into it, and he extends his reach really well. And his reach is already way longer than this guy's. I think this fight is a setup, like you said, for Niko Price. I think the UFC likes him, and I can see why. He seems like a good character for the UFC's repertoire. So I think this is a setup fight, and Price KO round 1. I will have him on some cards.
Oh, definitely. Those DK lines, once we figure those out. On to the next fight, though, we have Vince Pichel versus Joaquin Neto BJJ Silva. Vince Pichel is 10-1, even though it shows that he's got a couple losses on here, some of them coming out of the Ultimate Fighter, so they consider them exhibition bouts. But he is definitely the older fighter by 35 years old to the 28-year-old 10-0 fighter.
Do you want me to tell you these real quick?
The previous ones, please. Go ahead.
So the Price Sullivan, Niko Price is 9,000 right now to Sullivan. I think that makes him 7-2.
I like that. I like Price in that.
I think that's
good
right.
Price.
Yeah.
A good price
a
for
good
Price.
price for Niko Price. And what was the first fight of the night? Who we told everyone to stay away from
Arnett
anyway?
versus Sandhagen.
Arnett is 7-9 and Sandhagen is 8-3. I'm going to watch some tape on Sandhagen, personally. And for 8-3, if he is a guy that's fighting with TJ every day and is in this cut, I might be interested in sliding him on a few. But right now, stay away. But 8-3 for Sandhagen. Sorry, moving on.
So on to Vince Pichel. Silva's 10-0. He has 3 wins in the UFC officially. That loss is only a rear naked choke in the Ultimate Fighter, so it's considered an exhibition. So he's ran through the last few people with Maguire in a split decision. Then he got a split decision against Madadi as of 7 months ago, and he finished Hallbrook, who's fairly chinny. Silva is very flashy, throws very hard punches on the ground. He is a demon, Neto BJJ, but he really likes his Muay Thai as well. I feel like he's Russian-esque and he gets out of position only because he's confident in his ground game and able to beat people. Pichel is more the wrestling-centric fighter, has also a lot of power, has really changed his game plan in his last few fights. He's really turned it around and gotten his footwork under him. Vince Pichel is an ever underdog who always performs. He's a Ortiz type of a fighter, and is somebody that you can't always look over even at his age of 35. I think Neto has also had some sort of popping or something like that. Never mind. I think I'm getting confused with the fighter. Either way, this is a really, really close fight, closer than the odds have it. Silva gasses a bit more than I like, and Pichel turns it on as the rounds go on. So if this isn't a first round finish for Silva, this is going to be a Pichel decision, if not late finish, third round. So I see more avenues in Pichel's just general takedown and power once he gets people to the ground. I think he can stifle that BJJ on the ground, how he tends to do. Got Pichel decision. This is a tough one to pick. I don't know if I'm going to go heavy on either fighter depending on their DK prices. What do you think goes on in this one?
This is the 8-1 on DraftKings, so I think it's really interesting that you called it such a close fight, and I think DraftKings would agree with you. And I also, the 8-1s always make me so nervous, and those tend to be stayaways for me. The only thing I don't like about Paciello in this whole fight is his age.
Yeah.
It's the only thing I don't like. If he were a younger man going into this, I would have him, but I think he has had a stunted growth with his learning at this point. And I do see that Silva is a kid on the rise. And I could be wrong. Are there more than one Silva on their fight card? There always is more than one.
Yeah, right.
There's always more than one Silva. I'm just being facetious. I don't know if there is or not. But
there isn't.
Joaquin Silva, I like him a lot, but I also, the caliber of guys that he's gone against haven't necessarily been that high ranked in the UFC or that experienced in the UFC. I do like him in this fight, and this is why it's the 8-1. This is so back and forth. I think he could get a decision here, and I think he could get a decision, if anything, because he has a star that can still be growing at 28 years of age for Brazil, where Paciello, he's filling a spot on the card right now.
He's a grinder, though. He's a tough
I agree,
and
I
fight.
see what's happening with all those grinders lately.
Exactly. So be careful on that one for sure.
Stay away from that.
Onward down the card we go. Justine Quiche is looking to not shit the bed against Jing Yang Kim. I don't know if you got that joke, because Quiche had a little bit of a slip up the last fight around, but testament to her, never gave up, never stopped moving, even though she was outclassed. The tenacity to try to get up and finish her fight, I think, really works in her favor against a lot of opponents.
I like to call that she had a little Romero in her pants.
This fight is going to be 125 pounds, so I believe Quiche is moving up in this new division. So is Kim. Kim being 6-1-2, losing to Lucy Padlova as of late, and beating a bunch of other 1-0 fighters. Previous to that, Quiche being 6-1, only losing a decision 6 months ago to Felice Herring. Quiche being perfect prior to that. Quiche has been at Black House for a while, and does a lot of that Holly Holm throws 4 or 5 punch combinations together, has a good gas tank, but was shown where her wrestling deficiencies are, and that's what Felice really showed, was top control wise. She's a fish out of water at times. Hopefully she learned a lot from that. She's at the perfect camp to learn from that. She's 29, learning ever more. Kim, being out of South Korea, losing to Padlova in a very underwhelming fight. I see this being a lopsided, heavy punch favorite. Quiche's style is privy to getting a lot of kill you by 1,000 cuts. She's going to throw 100 punches and they're not going to knock you out. They might along the way, but either way, I feel like she's going to end up scoring around like 60 to 100 points, depending on her output. But Quiche has the ability to put a 3-round fight with 60 punches in each round, where Kim will get overwhelmed by that type of pressure fighter. I just see Quiche rolling here. Kim's just going to end up getting picked apart the whole time, and Kim needs to start changing where she's training. Just get around there a little bit in that weak division right now. How do you feel this one goes down for the ladies?
The only thing that makes me nervous for Quiche in this at all is the size of Kim. And Kim is stepping down into the 125 division, where Quiche is stepping up into it. And I feel like the last fight I was nervous about this, the girl got picked apart, but maybe it was just the most boring fight in the world. Anyway, it was Jessica Ai. Wasn't it the Jessica Ai fight? Wasn't she fighting somebody that fought at 115 before?
Fiara or whatever. Yeah.
And I kind of can see Kim doing somewhat of the same thing. She does have an okay ground game. She hasn't been in as much competition, but I just wonder if size alone. Losing to Felice Herrig is not a big deal to me at all. I really like Felice and everywhere she's headed in the division. But the other people that Quiche has beat, she beat Nina, but that was before Nina was the Nina Arsenoff that we know now.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it was before she was a badass.
Before ATT.
I had Quiche all day on this decision, just being able to pick her apart point-wise. I wonder if how the reach and size of Kim is going to affect her toward later rounds. If Quiche points fight this, I got to think she's thinking the same thing going into it. So if she points fight this, we're going to get a boring decision. This is where you go make a guacamole. I want to make some guacamole? This is the match, is my guess. I'm going to put Quiche decision, and I'm not going to have it anywhere.
I feel like you're going to be making a whole lot of guacamole this night.
That is so true. That is so true.
You're going to have a big-ass bowl in front of you like, shit, now I got to eat it.
Now I have all this guacamole.
So, onto a strawweight bout, 10 pounds less, 115 pounds. We're staying with the ladies. We have Ronda Marcos versus Juliana Lima. Marcos is a 7-5 fighter against Lima's 9-4. The younger fighter is going to be Marcos by 3 years at 32 years old. The taller fighter, Lima, by a bit. Reach advantage doesn't really matter here because Lima doesn't use it all that much with 2.5 inches, but Marcos really uses her wrestling to get inside and has done it to everybody. Dark horse of the division. She is somebody that mentally has gotten beaten. She's lost to Alexis Grasso in a split decision, which was a close fight, could have went her way. Beat Esparza, lost to Courtney Casey, which was weird by an armbar. Beat Lamberger, then lost to KK via decision. And that's her career prior to that. So right now she's on a lose one. She's going to be on a win one in her streak right now. Lima has lost to Tisha Torres in a submission, which the decision aider, Tisha Torres, and then Lima beat, who was it in the UFC? JJ Aldridge via unanimous decision, which is actually a pretty good win. She lost to Esparza in a decision and beat another few unanimous decisions against Nina Asmaroff over 3 years ago. Lima can't keep up the pace. Her striking is where she likes to keep it on the ground. She's okay and serviceable, but Ronda Marcos is grappling. Is it Iranian or something like that? She's out of Canada, but either way, Ronda Marcos uses her wrestling really, really well. Really keeps the pressure on women, and they're not ready for that. She shuts down a lot of submission games for a lot of women, and they don't see that coming. I think that's going to happen. I got Marcos' decision. I'm staying so far away from this fight. I don't see a finish coming for either fighter in any way. I got Marcos' decision. How does this one sound to you?
I don't have anything to add to any of that.
Right?
It is not even worth another word.
So, on to the flyweights. We got, staying in the lady division, we got a three-peat, 125 pounds flyweight. For the ladies, we have Romero Borella versus Caitlin Chukagian. The 12-4 Italian just beat Kendra Faria submission 3 months ago. Prior to that, she had a win over Dudavia in a split decision. The 9-1 Chukagian is just coming off of a win against Irene Aldana 9 months ago, and prior to that, getting her first loss against Liz Carmouche in a split decision. That Liz Carmouche split was very controversial, and Chukagian has made leaps and bounds already more. She showed it in that Aldana fight with her wrestling, where she learned in that Liz Carmouche fight, oh, this is a type of ground game that I really need to have.
Worst nickname, Chukagian.
Blonde fighter? Why?
Blonde fighter.
Blonde fighter. What's so horrible about that?
It's so
it kind of rolls off the tongue. Blonde fighter. Caitlin Chukagian. Coming out of
with the last
New
name
Jersey,
like Chukagian, you could have cool nicknames.
Like the Choo Choo.
That is the first thing I thought of.
Choo Choo.
The train.
The train. Yep. The train Chukagian. Yep.
That's fucking awesome. Caitlin. Blonde fighter.
Caitlin the train Chukagian. That's a dope ass name. So, Chukagian is going to be the taller fighter by 3 inches and have a reach disadvantage by 1 inch at 66 inches to Borella. Borella beat Faria, who Faria is not a UFC caliber fighter. She submitted her with few submissions in her game. No gas tank, very weak on the ground. Her striking is okay. She has, I believe, a straight right that shoots down the line pretty good. But Chukagian has shown that she is a striker at heart. Her wrestling has gotten better, but she likes to keep it a kickboxing match. I think she has better ankles, better gas tank. I have Chukagian decision. I could see a late round finish or a second round finish for Chukagian, just because I don't think Borella's even UFC caliber. It's just how lacking this division is right now, and it's
Chookagian again being the bigger fighter going down. That's another thing, going down to 125. The other thing, I totally agree with you. I have Chookagian decision right now, but I could also see it going. And the reason I don't even think I told you the line of the Ronda Marcos fight is because I ain't putting it anywhere. Are you?
Nope.
I didn't even talk about the DraftKings.
It's no way.
But with Chookagian, she will be the woman I put on the most of my cards. I'll have to look at her prices on DraftKings, but the reason I like her, and I can also agree with you with a late second to third round finish, is I could see Borella going for a half-ass submission attempt that's really rudimentary for this level of the game, and I'm going to go back, and this is going to be a new saying in my repertoire on the podcast, is like DC says, there's levels to this game. And I think Chookagian's a whole different level, so I can see her standing over Borella, just beating the shit out of her, totally standing over her, a failed submission attempt, and just, she has a good enough punches. She's one of the fighters that I think her games come together. Like all the pieces, like the Terminator 2, when it's all over the road, and then all the little fragments swell up and become Chookagian. So, Chookagian the train. I got her for the win, and I'm going to put her on some DraftKings.
I think that she's going to be valuable on some DraftKings, too, because I think there's definitely finish potential there. So we'll have to see how that all unfolds once we get there. On to the featherweights. We're going for the men.
I'm going to tell you how much Chookagian is before you run away from this fight. Chookagian. Okay, we're not saying anything that everybody else isn't seeing, but I actually think it's a pretty good price for the lack of experience she's going against. Chookagian's 8-7 right now.
I can see that.
Against Borella's 7-5.
I think Chookagian can get a finish, which will be over those 90 points, which you're going to want to get like 87 if you want to just times it by 10, just do whatever you want to do. So yeah, I think if you're above that 90 points, you're going to be paying off those under 9,000. So it's reasonable. That's reasonable. I'm not going to put whoever Borella fucking anywhere. Don't even fuck up your night with that bullshit. Do not put her anywhere.
I think we have to put on our wading boots, because I have to say that I think we're rolling into the sweet spot of this card. Agreed. This is the sweet spot. I think like right in the middle, there's just like little well of good fights.
Yep.
And I can't believe they're the prelim main events. So they're pretty impressive, because the rest of it, what we just did,
that was
those
the hard
fights
part.
We just did, it's going to be hard to watch.
That's the guacamole fights.
That's the guacamole. You're going to make dinner. You're going to be on the grill during those fights.
They're going to be like, don't you have fights to watch? Oh, don't worry about it. I'll get there. We're
like, I'm hanging out with you, beautiful.
Yep. I'm feeding you. Get her a good old fat burger. Get her make some homemade fries. Put a little frying on that and that. You good. Put her to bed. Make up a little.
We need to start having a LaTB recipe, like for the fight nights. Like put it together, and then we'll tell them the time to do it in between rounds and what fights.
Yep.
If you get a knockout, is when you want to go and start simmering your beans.
That's a good call. Good call. So on to the featherweights, 145 pounds. We're getting it back into the men's division with Mirsad Bektik coming off of a. What was it? One of the biggest underdogs coming through over the year against Godofredo Pepe, who's coming off of a loss. 13-5 is Pepe, 11-1 for Backtick, losing to Darren Elkins 10 months ago via a TKO. Pepe's coming off of a loss to Shane Burgos in a decision, which he didn't get finished. The 30-year-old Pepe is 4 years older than Backtick. Coming out of Florida is Backtick. Backtick is one of the biggest hype trains, has a good record, has actually fought quality fighters along that way, not just a bunch of bums. Beaten Lucas Martins, Russell Doan in a submission, Chas Skelly, Paul Redman. They're UFC caliber fighters. Pepe is fluttering in and out of a UFC contract. He'll get on a couple fight winning streak against fighters that are no longer in the UFC. He did beat Andre Fili in a submission. Mike De La Torre, he beat in a submission, but he lost to Darren Elkins as well, which they have the same loss in, and Burgos. But he wasn't finished by Elkins. He just lost in a decision. Pepe is a jiu-jitsu whiz, but has never really used jiu-jitsu in his entire frame of fighting in the UFC. He really loves his Muay Thai, stays up in his Muay Thai. On the ground, when he has been put into bad spots, he can be put into stalemate positions where he's not going to throw up a submission, but he's not going to get submitted and or finished, but he'll give up fights on points just because he won't be able to stand back up. And that's just a piece that he's really been missing a long time in his career, and he hasn't made a change in it as of late. Backtick is the type of fighter who shoots in on his strikes, has a good standing, switches his stance as well. With Backtick, though, he gets hurt even in a lot of his wins. He ends up getting hurt. Elkins showed you the blueprint. You got to tire him out, wear a lot of that fight on you, and then be able to come back later in the rounds to get the win. Backtick slows down in a lot of his fights, but so does Pepe. I do think that even though Pepe slows down, maybe even more so than Backtick, he doesn't show it as much. Pepe slows down and can still keep a pace to get a decision, where Backtick was like, I'm ready to fall over, I'm so exhausted because I haven't been able to finish you. That potentiality's there. Hopefully Backtick saw it himself and turned away from that, but a lot of people have a Backtick as a huge, huge favorite, and I do not like that at all. I have Backtick decision. If anything, I can see Pepe being worth a little bit of value in this fight. I think this is way closer than people make it out to be. Pepe can make it a grinding fight in there and not be... It could be a boring fight. This one can get very, very grinding very quickly. Backtick in the decision. How do you feel this one goes down after everything we just went through?
It is going to be Backtick decision, and I think people that have him as a huge, huge favorite are crazy because Pepe has a really good chin. He's not a quitter. He's going to take this. He's going to make some scary moments for Backtick, but I think Backtick's going to just outstrike him. And because Pepe, like you said, chooses to stay on his feet for some crazy reason, he's just not as good on his feet as Backtick is. All that being said, Backtick's not going to finish Pepe. I just don't see it being a knockout. I do see it being a decision win. Is he hella expensive on DraftKings? Do you have that up or?
Oh, I just did.
It is alright. I could pull it up so fast with a little song in between. Yeah, he's 9-4. To me, there is no value, even though it says he gets 9-4 or 94 points on average on DK. I just don't see that happening as much without a victory, without a KO win. And I don't see the KO win coming in this fight. So 9-4, Pepe being 6'8", I don't see Pepe getting finished. And I see him staying on their feet, so he's going to land some strikes as well. For 6'8", Pepe might be in the Wager Gager category. I don't see him winning the fight, but I think you'll get enough points to be valuable at 6'8". So
you might not be off on that one. Might not be off at all. So on to the next fight. We have a lightweight bout at 155 pounds. Bobby Green versus Eric Koch. Bobby Green is a forever letdown for me. I was so big on him for so long. Biggest win being Josh Thompson, and that's really it. He's coming off of a 4-fight losing streak / win split decision over Venata, which I think he popped for like marijuana or something like that, against Eric Koch, who's 15-5. Bobby Green's 23-8, by the way, but 15-5 Eric Koch is coming in off of a loss to Clay Guida in a decision. Prior to that, beating Campbell in a submission, losing to Cruikshank in a knockout, Poirier decision, and in Oliveira, he's finished as well. Koch is in that Ronda Marcos spot. He wins one, loses one, wins one, loses one. He's on the winning side of things right now for him, so he should beat Bobby Green. And unfortunately for Bobby Green, like I said, he has everything that he needs to be a contender, but he's never lived up to it because his fighting style, even though it was very Philly shell and nuanced, it's heavily relied on movement, athleticism, and tons of movement and cardio. And later on in his life at 31, which isn't that late, to the 29-year-old Koch, Bobby Green also lives a hard and fast life. He's not a stranger to unique situations that most people live in, and he talks about it, and he just says, like, it's just the way I live. He hangs around with people that do bad stuff sometimes and it can rub off. But with Bobby Green, he's also had multiple surgeries on his knees. And with a movement-based fighting style, when your knees start to go, all of a sudden you're just moving at the hip and eventually your head starts to move. And I do feel like Bobby Green's gotten hit more and more the longer his career's gone on, just because injuries have added up for him. But he has a little bit of power, but really is just awkward to most people. Switches stance okay. Eric Koch is the better all-around fighter, but doesn't have tons of power. Submission games is he'll hurt people and get them into submissions. Okay on the ground. Doesn't have good entries on his takedowns. And is serviceable standing. Bobby Green also just doesn't pull the trigger enough for me, so I see him losing the fight more than Eric Koch winning it. I don't see a finish in this fight at all whatsoever. I don't know what the values are right now on DK, but I'm going to go with Koch decision. I'm going to stay away from this one. Bobby Green could just get a nasty, dirty split, and I see a dirty split going either way, but I'm going to go with Koch. What do you think goes on in this fight?
I'm going to stay away from Koch all day, and this isn't because Bobby Green's only lost to the best guys in his division, and the fact of his last fight with Lando Venata, that was an interesting fight for me. Both guys were worn out by the end. Lando Venata was a crazy hype train, but it just makes me wonder if, look at all the Magomedov has, like, all these guys, Dustin Poirier and then Barboza, all of them shot up to the top of the division after fighting Bobby Green. So I just don't see Eric Koch as that guy. I just don't. I know he's lost to good caliber guys, and we saw Clay Guida do some amazing things in his last fight, but I don't see Clay. He was a fade for me up until that moment. Up until that moment of his last win. So I think Green's going to do something weird here. There's a reason the UFC keeps pushing him. They must see potential in this kid too. I'm hoping it all comes together for him here. I'm not going to put him heavy anywhere. I don't know what his cost is on the DK right now, but it really doesn't matter. I'm going to stay away from both guys. It's going to be a hard fight card to pick. I'm probably not going to put a ton of DraftKings, but this actually tends to be when I have good nights, is these weird cards.
Bobby Green is 85,000 versus Koch 77. I'm liking Koch. I feel like I'm going to put Koch on a few. It's that chin as well. Koch's chin is a little on the weaker side, but Bobby's got a bit of snap on his punches.
He has some KO power.
Yeah. This is a sneaky one. It's going to be a nerd split.
This is where we split off too. So I can't believe I have Bobby Green. I don't think I've ever picked him in a fight before.
I feel like I've picked Bobby Green the entire time, and that's why I'm so fucking jaded on him. So that's funny that we have a split on that one. Moving on to the main card. This is where you go to your FS1.
I thought I was going to burp.
Oh, I thought you were going to cheer. I thought it was a crowd.
Main event.
So we don't have to go to the pay-per-view. We are staying on Fox Sports 1. This isn't Big Fox, right? Stays on FS1. So
I don't know how Americans watch it.
So we have Drew Dober at 170 pounds versus Frank Camacho. Camacho coming into the UFC at 20.
I have to say, too, we have Spain and Italy and Norway and Australia and France subscribers.
What?
Subscribers.
That's nuts. Thank you to all of you for...
Of course we have a whole bunch of red, white, and blue hoo-hooies, but...
it's nice to get a little bit of global attention.
A little global love.
LaTB worldwide.
We are non-discriminatory.
100%.
We don't care about your race, religion, creed, sex.
If you want to try to make some money on the fights, that's what we care about. We trying to help you.
Or if you just want to
bullshit,
talk shit.
Get some time. Listen to some times while you're doing a project.
A little MMA. So if you're looking where to find us, lesboandthebean.com, all your feeds, probably on Libsyn, anywhere you find podcasts, or Twitter at Lesbo and The Bean for the latest stuff.
Camacho coming in with a 21-5. He's already had 2 fights in the UFC, losing his debut against Jin Liang in short notice fight 7 months ago, and then getting a win over Damon Brown, split decision in a fight of the night. The Jin Liang fight as well was fight of the night. So Camacho in a win-loss in the UFC is actually cashed out extra $50,000. Actually, he may have missed weight in that Jin Liang fight and would not have been eligible. But Drew Dober is a longtime veteran in the UFC, the older fighter by the year at 29 years old. He's also going to come in the shorter fighter by 2 inches and have a 3-inch reach disadvantage against Camacho. This fight being at 170, Camacho, I think, fought Brown at 55, but Camacho slows down a lot in his fights. He does bring it, swings from the hip in the second and third rounds. On the ground, Camacho is good. He has a few finishes on the ground in his long career at 21-5. Sets it up with his hands, has power, and was really able to roll over a lot of people. But now in the UFC, there's levels to this game, as you were saying, and Camacho is starting to realize what level it is. I really do like his activity. 2 months ago, he was just in a brutal fight, and I just don't like the time frame. We really harp on that here on That Be a lot. Like, give yourself a little bit of time to rest. Some fighters don't like to do that because they put on too much weight, and I feel like Camacho's in that. He's dense. He's a very heavy-looking guy when you see him at 70. Drew Dober's right in that category as well. He's a very dense fighter. He stayed at 55 for a while, but has really put on a lot of lean muscle mass. He's coming off of a win against Josh Berkman, TKO 5 months ago. Then he had a loss to Aban Mercier submission a year ago, and has rattled off a couple wins and losses in the UFC. He's a national Muay Thai champion in the United States, uses Muay Thai well. His wrestling has come along. It's gotten better. A few losses early in his career against better wrestlers has really helped it come along. He's also at the Elevation Fight Team, coming out of Denver, Colorado. His gas tank has been proven time and time again, and Drew Dober is not scared if he starts to lose a striking battle to get double underhooks, push you up against the fence, and get you to the ground. And I feel like that's going to be the fall here in Camacho. Camacho has been able to keep fights more at a distance, and then for that reason, he eventually lands something and or gets a decision. But I think Drew Dober's pace at the grappling exchanges is really going to wear on Camacho. He tends to fade just a bit more for me. I got Dober in this decision. I see that he's a heavier favorite on tap. I don't think it's that. I think it's pretty close. What are the odds on these guys DK-wise? It's going to end up being Camacho is 7-3 for Drew Dober's 8-9. That's too overpriced for Drew Dober, even in a win for me. He's only going to get like 45 points. Camacho will probably be in that 30-20 range. So this is going to be a stay away fight for me. How do you feel this one ends up going down?
I love Drew Dober on this. I'll have him on a lot of my cards. Him fighting at 170 is just right for me, especially with that Colorado cardio. We should just go ahead and cash tag that because all the people from Colorado fighting out of there. I don't care if it's Bullet, Rose, friggin' TJ. How can you not talk about TJ?
Right.
We talked about it earlier on the card tonight. Same fight team.
Exactly.
I think Drew Dober, you might be hearing it here first, everyone. At 170, he's going to make a run. A guy I always thought was going to stay in this 10 to 20, top 10 to 20 range.
Yep.
I think we're going to see him make a run. I think his only bit of weaknesses might have been that weight cut. In fighting at 170, I also think he's going to reclaim his power. He's been a knockout guy in the past. I think he's going to find that again. I think being the heavier guy, sinking all into it, he's going to have a little bit of more confidence, a little more weight to throw around with the cardio. I think you could see, and what I have is him actually finishing Camacho and knocking him out at the end of round 2.
Interesting. You might be selling me a bit more. I'm going to put Dude over on a few of these cards. Interesting fight. I think that has fight of the night potential written all over it as well. All over it. So, on to a lightweight bout, 155 pounds. We have Gregor Gillespie versus Jordan Rinaldi. Rinaldi being 13-5, coming off of a win against Herrera 5 months ago, but debuting against Trujillo and losing a decision over. He's 1-1 in the UFC. Rinaldi is 30 years old, coming out of Nevada against Gillespie 10-0, the New York nationally ranked wrestler, is coming in with all sorts of hype. He's fighting out of Long Island MMA, has beasts of training partners, and really has shown that he has tons of power. He has crisp boxing, is also a Golden Gloves. Gillespie is in high school while he was also a nationally ranked wrestler. So he's very well-rounded in his transitions, has a great wrestling gas tank, will go to his wrestling if need be, but really likes to keep it standing and show off his striking. His chin can be a little high for me sometimes. I think against really advanced strikers, that's not good. An overhand right can really hurt him. I feel like he has been hit a few times and just muscled through it, and a big puncher. It doesn't matter who you are. But being 10-0, there's a lot of more weight accumulating on the shoulders of Gillespie to get these finishes and fight a certain style. And eventually, push comes to shove, these guys in that 12-15 range, staying undefeated is just harder and harder, especially when you get in the UFC. But with all that being said, Rinaldi is good everywhere, not amazing anywhere. On the ground, he's serviceable. Doesn't have good takedowns, but against Gillespie, it's not even going to matter. So it's going to stay striking if Gillespie wants to take it there or not. Rinaldi, striking-wise, though, is not as crisp as Gillespie either. Throws looping punches, overhand rights, ducks his head a little bit too heavy. So I just see it being a losing battle for Rinaldi. Gillespie being a big favorite on Tapology. If I can afford him on DraftKings, I will. I have Gillespie TKO round 2. I might move that up into round 1, but I have Gillespie wherever I can get him, and I'll figure out the rest later. How do you feel this one goes down?
9-5 for Gillespie on DraftKings versus Rinaldi 6-7. For me, there's value in Rinaldi all day here, and Gillespie's hot because he fights in a local New York scene. Where do all the bookers and all the bet makers and all those people come out of? New York. Mm-hmm. I think he's a heavy favorite for that reason alone. His age isn't on here, and I think he's 157 years old. I think Gillespie might be 157 years old, and I'm not as impressed with him as you are. I think that Rinaldi actually has the better submission game and is better on the ground. His striking might not be as crisp, but I just think he's the more intelligent fighter overall going into this. I know it's a weird underdog. I actually see him... Gillespie's going to start buying the hype of himself going into this fight. He's a 10-0 fighter going in. He's going to get submitted in round 2. He's going to be frustrated in round 1. His corner is going to be in his face. He's not going to listen to his corner when he comes out, and Rinaldi's going to catch him in some crazy-ass necktie. Some crazy old choke. And so I'm going to have Rinaldi submission round 2. I'm going to stay away from Gillespie. As far as I'm concerned, there is not enough UFC knowledge to go ahead and tag him everywhere. The guys he's fighting are, I mean, Holbrook, yes, there's, but I feel like that was a short notice fight. I might be totally wrong. He might have been fighting on a local UFC New York card somewhere. Mm-hmm. But the other guys, I'm like, who? What? I think there's a little value in Rinaldi here. It's so crazy. I might split him up and put Gillespie on 2 to hedge my bets on what I can afford, but I sure don't think he should be the heavy favorite on the card.
The biggest of the night.
9-5?
9. It is a lot.
You're crazy.
He has an average over 111.5 points, so he tends to finish a lot of people. But yeah, it's pretty steep. Pretty steep. So onto the co-main event, we have featherweight bout 145 pounds, Andre Fili versus Dennis Bermudez. Fili coming in with a 17-5 record against Bermudez's 16-7. Bermudez had a ton of hype, was on that title contender, and is coming off of a 2-fight losing streak against Chang Sung Jung in a TKO 11 months ago by an uppercut, and then also losing a split decision as of late 6 months ago to Darren Elkins. Elkins is making all sorts of damage throughout the division, for sure. Bermudez getting fight of the night contenders back in the day against Matt Grice, but his loss to Jeremy Stevens in a TKO, beat a couple people in K. Jawari and Hani Jason in a decision, but Bermudez's power is really faded in dare I say, post-USADA. He's 31 years old, but he's really slowed down in those 31 years. He's been fighting for a long time, much longer than a lot of these fighters, and been in contenders for Fight of the Nights multiple times over already. So I do see a step lost, even though Bermudez tends to be a wrestler. He has a huge overhand right, times it well, has good in and out, good knee picks. On the ground, he likes to throw a lot of punches once he gets you there. Submission-wise, he can submit you, but he doesn't really look for it as much. He more goes for position over submission a lot of the time. Bermudez is not an easy fight for anybody. Andre Fili, coming out of that
Position over submission.
Yeah, he does like it more.
That seems like a Daniel Cormier thing.
Yeah, I'm sure I've heard it somewhere. I don't know where. Maybe
you know what
it's
else is a Daniel Cormier thing? There's levels to this game.
So, with Andre Fili being 17-5, the 27-year-old is an alpha male, diehard through and through. He definitely does jump around from camp to camp, but his home is alpha male, and it's perfect for these weight divisions at 145 pounds. Fili's win one, lose one for a while in the UFC, but his losses are to a decision to Qatar and a loss TKO to Rodriguez. He's coming off of a win to Lobov, and he also beat Hakran Diaz and Gilbert Benitez in a TKO. Andre Fili likes to keep it standing on the ground. He's got that patented alpha male guillotine, but striking wise, it's just he's tricky. He switches his stance a lot, ducks and slide punches, but it does tend to slow down a little bit. His gas tank, though, he's gone, I believe, even 5 rounders before, just in Fox cards. So he's seen the bright lights as bright as Bermudez, and stylistically, Bermudez should be able to get Fili to the ground, keep him there, and win a decision. But with the steps that I'm saying Bermudez is losing, I think Fili, with the wrestling advantages he has, he's being overlooked in this specific position. I think people think that he's flopped in his careers, but Yair and Qatar, as of late, are not bad losses. And I think Fili's the underdog here, but I'm liking Fili a lot in this position. I do think that he can probably get the finish in the second or third round. And I got Fili TKO round 2. It's Bermudez's chin. I just can't trust more than anyone. How do you feel this one goes down?
Fili is 7-6 on DraftKings.
Woo!
To Bermudez's 8-6. I have to go with you here. Fili is the underdog pick all day. Losing to Yair Rodriguez is not a great loss to me. I don't put Yair up there really high, but his crazy ass head kicks and kicks, before that moment that he caught Fili, no one knew to be scared of his kicks yet.
Right.
Like, that was the moment that kind of let everybody know, oh shit, this is this MF's game plan. So that I don't count against Fili too much. And then Calvin Qatar, we just saw him last week fight. The guy's a crazy killer. He's going to be someone to watch in the octagon. I try to tell you if you listen to me. So that loss to me isn't that bad, especially at decision. I think Fili has a good chin, and I'm just not worried about Dennis Bermudez anymore. The wars that he's been in have taken their toll, and I think Andre Fili is on his way up. So I even could see a finish because cardio taking the advantage by the time we get to that third round and push comes to shove. I do see him getting, because he isn't a slouch on the ground. He has some submission game as well, and he has some tricky stand-up. I think he's an awkward fighter. I was falling away from Fili for a while, but I think I'm going to get back on the Fili train a little bit here, and at 7-6, I don't know how much further we have to talk about it. I think that's our Leslie Smith underdog pick.
I think Andre Fili makes the perfect touchy Fili kind of moment. Easy, yeah. It just seems plausible to me.
I'm touched. I'm touched, Mr. Fili. Andre Fili, I hope you accept this award as being our Leslie Smith underdog pick.
Eat a pizza slice after weigh-ins for us. So, to the main event we go. We have Jacare, Rolando, the Crocodile, Alligator, Souza versus Derek Brunson. This is a rematch at 185 pounds. A lot of people are wondering why this is even happening. Souza being 24-5 against Brunson's 18-5. Both of these fighters fought at Strikeforce. Was their first fight around, and Jacare won. Definitely ended up using a lot of his submission stuff as well as striking but that was a long, long time ago, and both of these fighters are somewhat different. It's interesting how Souza's kind of crisping up all of his striking over the years, and Derek Brunson has gotten even wilder over the years. Where Derek Brunson had a bit more technique, he's just kind of said, fuck that shit, I'm going to try to blow you out. And I feel like Derek Brunson is taking the mentality of kill or be killed, and either way they'll keep me around. And it's working for him. I'm excited. I love watching Derek Brunson fights, even though I shit my pants, because if I'm betting Derek Brunson, it's always just any counter strike away from being light night for Derek Brunson. Jacare, coming off of a loss to Robert Whittaker, the current champion 9 months ago via TKO, having a 2-fight winning streak before that, only losing a split decision to Yoel Romero. Souza, striking wise, is serviceable. Gas tank's okay. Has power into the third round on the ground. Is a absolute monster. Derek Brunson is much more wrestling based. He blitzes you more than anything. Doesn't even set it up. He doesn't have good footwork when he blitzes you. He just runs in with punches. Jacare Souza could easily slip a punch, land an overhand, and it's over. But like fighters have succumbed to Brunson before with that blitz, Uriah Hall being an elite striker as well. In that chaos, there is a reason. The awkwardness of that style does create the opportunities for Derek Brunson to be able to win this fight. So he does have opportunities here. It's whether Souza can take those initial shots and wait for Brunson to slow it down enough to finish him. Brunson's coming off a 2-fight winning streak to Dan Kelly and Lyoto Machida, but prior to that, he has a loss to Anderson Silva in a decision, which a lot of people think he won.
Maybe in one of them.
Maybe in one of them as well. And losing to Robert Whittaker, TKO, the current champion as well. So, Derek Brunson is somewhat overperformed. This is the right way for Derek Brunson to keep going if he wants to get that title contender belt. Souza is the perfect guy. You beat Souza, you're definitely a top fiver in there. But it's not going to be an easy fight whatsoever. Souza is a slight favorite. I don't even know if slight favorite. I'm assuming he's actually a heavy favorite. And that's why people are going to call me crazy. But the older fighter at 38 to 34, I think USADA might have something to do with Souza as far as he either pops before or after. Win or lose, I think that's going to end up happening for Souza. And with that said, I have Derek Brunson winning this fight TKO round 1. I think he's going to blitz him and just absolutely swarm him. It's that die on your shield, but he's going to go out there swinging. I hate watching Derek Brunson fights when I'm betting him, but I do believe that he does unique things in there that do create havoc for people. And it's a bad pick. It's not a bad pick. It's a scary pick. I don't expect people to jump on it too much. I feel like I know what I'm doing. I feel like there's an Alistair Overeem pick. So we'll see how it goes. How do you feel this one goes down at the end of the night?
Jacare right now on DraftKings is 8-4 to Derek Brunson 7-8. To me, Derek Brunson's wrestling is the key to me not having to be worried about the only thing I would be threatened by with Jacare, even though their record fighting each other doesn't say that, because I know Jacare knocked out Derek Brunson in the past. I just think Derek Brunson, and their age shouldn't be a factor because they're both past the point of where you want to fade both guys at this point. I just think the time out of the ring for Jacare, even though it's just been the 9 months that I like to see after something so brutal.
Yep.
And then you look at who the guys have walked through the ancient rung of the last age-old fighters. They're like fighting each other as that last rung. Robert Whittaker, they've kind of lost to the same guys, Robert and Yoel, over the period of a certain amount of time. That Anderson Silva loss shouldn't even be on there for Derek, but the fact that it went to decision, that's a little sketch. I keep going back and forth on this fight. I almost just want to stay away from it all day. There was a time that I just thought Souza was unbeatable, and he was one of the scariest guys in the UFC to me. I got to think he just played it smart to come back at the right time. Derek Brunson, Jackson Wink. Oh, my least favorite camp. And I like Derek Brunson here. Even this him and Han. I'm going to go The UFC like selling tickets by Ronaldo Souza more. It's going to be ugly. I'm going to go Souza decision. They've stole it from Brunson in the past. I think they're going to do it again, but the fact that I'm him and Holland, I'm probably going to stay away from this fight or pepper them both on a few cards.
I could see myself playing Brunson in a couple spots just so I could get people like Crispy in this. Same with price being up in that 9,000 range. I got a few fighters, though. I feel like there's a few underdogs that are going to come through on this night. This is, like you were saying, one of those nights where you really, really shine because a lot of people aren't betting these or they don't like to do the research or listen to LaTB and get all the right picks. When you got underdogs for days, you got DraftKings money left over. I can see myself making multiple cards.
Yeah,
or LaTB making multiple cards, and it doesn't even matter. There's so many underdogs I have.
We gave you everything that you need to have to afford the most expensive people. If you want Gillespie, if you want Backtick, if you want Justine Quiche at 9-2,
Oh,
what the DraftKings?
You'll be able to afford it.
I think your best expensive pick is 9,000 on Niko price of all those people at the top.
Yep.
To me, I think Drew Dauber at 8-9 is good.
I like him as well. I'll probably pick Dober in that. I have Dober in that.
And I think what else do you need to know? I think we can leave it with the Leslie Smith Underdog Pick. A little Andre touchy-feely.
At 7-6, yep. Is he also our Wager Gager? Can they be both?
I think, I liked Brunson for the Wager Gager. You actually said the Wager Gager for one of the fighters, I thought already. Or I said it somewhere else. It was like a fighter that was 7-6.
That would be Feely.
No, it was somebody at the bottom. It was Pepe.
Oh.
We didn't think he was going to win, but we thought for 6-8, you could put whoever you wanted on your card if you knew he was going to lose, but he'd still pull 40 points.
I agree with that. I could easily put Pepe on a few things, not for the win, but for that 6-8, he's going to get in that 30-40 range just because he's not going to get finished in there. And Backtick isn't going to...
Make sure you like and subscribe.
Lesbo and The Bean!